You're listening to the Love Unplugged podcast, episode 6. Today's episode is all about the journey from loss to love. My guests share how loss of a dear loved one inspired them to create a free-from deodorant that will help many avoid putting harmful ingredients and chemicals into their bodies. Now, you may be like me and have been using a drugstore brand deodorant for most of your life, and aside from aluminum, aren't quite sure what other harmful ingredients are included in the brands that we use and what effects they can possibly have on our health. You may also wonder if natural deodorants are even as effective, or maybe nervous to make the switch because you, like I, need to keep that armpit sweat under control. Well, today we learn all about what harmful ingredients we should be staying away from and the right way to switch to a natural deodorant. You are listening to Love Unplugged, a podcast focused on love in all its forms. I'm your host, Jessica Frigon, hopeful romantic and founder of Revue Blanc. I've found that too often love is set aside or taken for granted, and we tend to forget how to care for ourselves and our relationships in the day-to-day chaos. So let's slow down, tune in, and begin our journey of rediscovering love. From honest heart-to-heart conversations with real couples and knowledgeable guests, to deep dive reviews of new products and services that will help you feel beautiful inside and out. If you're looking for relatable advice or wanting to be inspired by real life love stories, you've come to the right place. Without further ado, let's get to it. I am here with Ada and Mila, a mother-daughter team who have founded Nala Care, a company that creates deodorants that are free of all harmful ingredients. I was so inspired by their story and love how out of tragedy they created something so wonderful. Let's learn how harmful our drugstore deodorants actually are, the best way to switch to a natural deodorant and the benefits, but ultimately how Ada and Mila overcame loss together and how they balanced the demands of a successful business. So let's get to it. Welcome. I am so honored to have you as my guest, and I am so excited to learn all about your story, your business, and your product. But before we start, for those that do not know you, would you be able to share a little bit about yourselves?
Yeah, so I'm Ada. Thank you so much for having us here. We're very excited to be part of your podcast. So I'm the daughter in the duo, and we started Nala just over a year and a half ago. But before we did that, really have just been living in Vancouver, building a career primarily in tech and in startups, and have been always curious by trying out new things. I do a lot of yoga. I'm actually a certified yoga instructor, though not actively acting on that, but enjoy, making the most out of Vancouver, hiking, all the quintessential Vancouver things. And yeah, happy to be here.
Hi, thanks Jessica for having us. My name is Mila, or for long, Radmila Jerstovski-Bosnich. I am co-founder of Nala Care and Ada's mom. A little bit about my background. We immigrated to Canada in 1992 from war-torn Yugoslavia. So it's me and my late husband, Alan Juristovsky, and our two kids, Ada and Philip. Actually, they were a baby at the times when we immigrated. Most of my career before starting Nala, I worked for local startup pharmaceutical industry and such as QLT Inc. in all different phases of new drugs developments, from research and manufacturing scale up to quality control and regulatory affairs. And now I dedicate my full time to Nala Care.
Wow. So you have a lot of experience, both of you.
Yeah. Yes.
That's amazing. So let's start at the beginning. How did Nala come to be?
So, Nala officially launched on November 23rd, 2000.
22nd.
I always say 20. I always think it's the day after, 22nd, 2017, which would be the 4-year anniversary at the time, if I'm correct, of when my father and Mila's husband, Alan, passed away. So that would have been November 22nd, 2013. And it was a long time in the coming before that. Really, how it came to be was when my father was sick, so he was diagnosed with cancer, my mom at the time had quit her job to take care of him full time. And when he passed, I think it was really a deliberate decision to not work for anybody else, but kind of do something proactive about kind of a blasé attitude that's easy to come across when it comes to all things carcinogenic or all things that cause us cancer. Because we hear it in everything, you know, the sun causes cancer, sunscreen causes cancer, makeup causes cancer, whatever it might be. And she said, you know what, with my skill set, if I can create a product that is not only effective, but safe and beautiful and doesn't feel like a trade-off between something that we enjoy using and something that's quote unquote good for us, you know, that's one way that we can make one less decision that people have to make. And so a fun little Easter egg about Nala, but the name is actually Alan backwards. And so he really kind of inspired everything that we do and is really kind of just that reminder and that spark and that impetus behind why we started it, but also why we keep going.
And also, if I may add, Nala is also a Greek goddess of nature.
Wow.
Which we found out after the fact.
It worked out, though.
So well.
Yeah.
It's the youngest goddess, too.
Wow, that's an amazing story.
Yes.
And I love how, because I was always trying to figure, I'm like, where did Nala come from? How did they come to that name?
Yes.
And that's amazing, because that's a constant reminder of why you started this company. And it's so sentimental because it's your dad and your husband's name.
Yes.
That's amazing. And it's beautiful.
It.
It's
Yeah,
a beautiful name.
It was we argued over who came up with it. I think it was,
we both take credit.
I think it was Mila ultimately, but one of the early names that I think I vetoed was something terrible and cliche, but it was like balance cubed or something. It was like nature, science, beauty. But when we heard Nala, it just clicked and we knew that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a perfect name. You
And
really nailed it.
It's in Lion King, too. Nala.
Yeah. I like it even more.
So we're hoping to capitalize on Beyonce playing Nala in the new movie.
In the new movie, right?
We gotta get our SEO.
Yeah,
there you go. So let's talk about the loss that you guys experienced. Just because a lot of people do experience that type of loss.
Absolutely.
And it's something that's tragic and super hard to get through it. So how did you guys get through that loss together, but also come out of it wanting to create something so wonderful?
All right. So, the pain of losing Alan was really so overwhelming, overpowering, so strong and real, and left us just all kind of wondering what just happened and what is it that we can do to prevent this pain or anyone else from like suffering and feeling the same way. We felt, all three of us, so helpless. We dealt with the grief and the pain, everyone in our own ways, but ultimately holding together and supporting each other. For me, it was even more so compounded by disappointment and the feeling of failure, because I spent the most of my life basically as a biotech engineer working on new drugs. Some of them were actually anti-cancer drugs. And when Alan got diagnosed, I thought, like, if anyone, like, we can do it together. We looked at the best possible mainstream treatments, but also alternative treatments, literally left no stone unturned. But at the end of the day, nothing really worked, and we really felt helpless. So losing him was definitely the hardest thing I had to go through in my life. So it was so overwhelming that we thought, like also Ada pointed out, that if we can find a way to channel like this force, like this pain into doing something creative, something meaningful, something that would maybe make this world a better place, and more importantly, maybe do our part and start the whole conversation of importance of taking really deep care of ourselves at all possible levels. So we wanted not to make just beautiful and safe products, but also we wanted to create a platform and open up a conversation about the importance of self-care and how it is really, at the end of the day, up to us to start taking a better care of ourselves and start living our life free from any harmful chemicals. But not only that, it goes much more beyond that. It's really aspiring to live our life free from others, things in our life free from judgments, fears, standards of beauty, toxic beauty, others people telling us how to feel, what to say, and so on and so on. But that was Alan was the inspiration behind.
Wow.
It's well said.
Very well said.
Thank you.
What advice would you have for other people going through something tragic like that as well, to be able to come through it the way that you guys have?
I actually worked really hard on overcoming my pain. I'm sure Ada did the same too. So did Philip. I basically I did lots of treatments, such as bioenergy, also sweat lodge meditations. I spoke to channels, to medias. I read lots of books about life after death, our soul plans, tried reincarnation, and just like asked so many questions of myself, looking for answers like, why did this happen? Can we still somehow keep in touch with our loved ones? Is there something out there? Is like the energy of our love and our soul really out there? In a way, like it helped me make peace with myself at the end of the day, and just basically overcome the pain. But also, I made a list of the things that I want to do, something that I haven't done in the past, or just simply didn't have time or didn't have a passion or courage for, and such as like traveling, basically. But also starting something on my own, expressing myself and channeling again the pain into something creative. And that's also like how Nala came about.
And what I would add to that as well is, we all handled it very different. I remember that was shortly after my brother's like going to Southeast Asia, and I'm traveling the world, and I think I became a little bit more protracted and introverted, and Mila kind of handled it how she described. But at one point we realized we needed to come together and almost regroup as a family and regroup as a unit.
That's right.
And we went on a big trip together to Japan, and that was shortly after I quit my job.
That was really good.
There's a lot of, I think, refocusing priorities and figuring out, putting that into perspective. And what I like that you said, for me as well, I find when you're handled something like death or grief that you maybe haven't investigated so deeply before, it makes you question a lot on your own belief system and your own thoughts. And for myself, who I wasn't raised religious, just started dabbling maybe in spirituality and what that looks like. But you end up asking yourself a lot, do I believe in reincarnation? And you would see somebody on the street or somebody that maybe has that same energy as Alan, and like that thought crosses in your mind. Or I went to a medium for the first time trying to be open-minded. And I would just kind of say, have those conversations, because I think when I started opening up about it, I wrote a Medium blog about, I think, just kind of the uncertainty and the fogginess of everything, and just received so much overwhelming support of people who are also going through it, and just trying to somehow, you're almost trying to justify it, or not necessarily justify it, but find a way to come to terms with it. And people process that differently, but be open to what that might look like for you.
Yeah, and then if I may just add, what I think it's really important and what I think all of us also did, taking time, just allowing yourself to be human, to be weak, to cry, to process your grief, to, ask friends for help. And that's really, really necessary. But at the same time, what's important is to be determined to get well. And I know that's what helped me because they say, my bioenergy teacher actually said to me, I know you'll get over it. But for some people, it takes 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Like he's been treating people that, took them 10 years to get better and move on to their life. Mm-hmm. So he said to me, Michael Dalton, he said, I don't want you to take 10 years. Just take your time, but please just also work on yourself to get better. And what I focus on, it's basically to focus on love, because I thought that was the only feeling that is stronger than pain. Mm-hmm. And if I could only learn to love life again, to feel the joy of life again, to love myself, that was hard because I was so disappointed at myself and failing to help Alan. But then ultimately I realized, we still have love. He's not here in body, but his love, my love, is tangible. It's here. It has its frequency, right? Mm-hmm. Electromagnetic fields is the real thing. It's not going away, right?
That's true. Very true. Must have been very therapeutic to go on that trip together and to regroup as a family and kind of get back to what you guys needed to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how did you come to deciding on a deodorant as the product you wanted to create out of everything?
Yeah, great question. And right now we are solely deodorants. We will expand and are planning on expanding beyond deodorants. But to us, deodorant was such a intuitive starting point because it does cover such a susceptible part on the body. And that's kind of your armpits and your lymph nodes and very closely tied to your breast tissue and breasts and everything. And it's a direct entryway of when you're putting product onto open pores, what that actually looks like and how it's processed in your body. So to us, we knew there's antiperspirants and we can get into that later. And we know there's natural deodorants, I'd say was just kind of on the real peak. Natural deodorants are definitely having a moment right now, which is something that we're so happy for us. Not because it means it's great for Nala, but because there is a greater awareness about what we're putting on our body, and that conversation is changing. But it was something that we knew we could do well. Like our secret weapon and what we really do have is Mila's extensive background as a biochemical engineer, biotechnical engineer. But I always get her title. I always get her title biotech engineer. But we could create really high quality products, and we went through a year of R&D where we tested on friends and family. And our initial formula was, with that you would apply with your fingers. It was like in a little jar, and we found our female friends were open to it, and the feedback from some of our male friends was more so. Some were open to it, and some were like, "I've got armpit hairs. This is gross." But even with the women in our life, we're busy and it's something that we wanted to make accessible to as many people as possible so that it didn't feel, again, like a trade-off or like it was something, that would be an inconvenience. Mm-hmm. So it was a natural first step. And I think because there's such high ties with aluminum, which is often found in antiperspirants and breast cancer, it was another easy one where we're saying we're making an aluminum-free product. And part of the reason we've branded Nala as free from deodorant versus natural deodorant is to be very, very clear about what free from means. And, free from carcinogens, free from toxins, free from petroleum, free from aluminum, free from phthalates, free from cruelty, no testing on animals, all of that. Natural right now, the industry, I think, is expanding and growing and innovating faster than regulations can keep up. And so natural, unfortunately, isn't very regulated. And we wanted to be clear that we've gone above and beyond any regulations to really just create products that are safe. And actually, as Mila was talking,
our standard,
up to our standards, which we'll verify
standards
are above and beyond any kind of regulatory standards. And on every deodorant, which kind of ties nicely into what Mila was speaking about before, on the outer tube, and you'll see it when you're holding it, it says, "I care for you." And when you open the inner tube, the one that you would use every day, it says, "I care for me." And it's really kind of that circular feeling. And it's a reminder, yes, we take care of our loved ones, but we have to do our due diligence to take care of ourselves so that we can be around for our loved ones for a long time. And we can do our part in disease prevention and risk mitigation, and really just saying, hey, I'm taking pride in myself so that I can be there for my loved ones, and vice versa. We care for each other. So there was a lot of fun we had with developing a deodorant and designing it and all of that. And it was a good first step.
That's amazing. All right, so let's talk about these ingredients, because I'm going to be pretty honest here. I have been a drugstore deodorant user. I don't know what the difference is between deodorant and antiperspirant.
Yes.
But I use the clinical strength because when I get nervous, I get nervous. And I really do not like to sweat. So I've always been very hesitant to make that transition over, just because I'm not sure if what the natural deodorant or the free from deodorant is going to do the exact same that the clinical does for me. But I don't know ingredients. I know aluminum because people talk about it all the time. But what are the other ingredients that people should be aware of that are actually not good for you that are in these drugstore deodorants?
So maybe I'll start on the high level and I'll let Mila kind of dig in deeper. But first and foremost, we'll never shame. We'll never shame anybody for using a drugstore deodorant. And I think that's important to distinguish, because even when we were developing our brand values and stuff, we said, no fear mongering, no shaming. It's not all or nothing. Because at the end of the day, it's a big change. It's a big process. It can be an expensive process, and we don't even tell people to clear out their medicine cabinets and buy all new, but rather slow, conscious decisions for parts of your life when it makes sense for your life. And I think that's important, because if you can integrate it in a way that you're going to keep something as part of your routine, it's going to stick, versus throwing out all of your expensive, $25 mascaras and foundations and deodorants and buying everything from scratch. You're going to go broke very fast.
Very fast.
So it's never all or nothing for us. For us, it's do what you can within your power in a way that makes sense. And you're doing the exact right thing, is educate yourself, ask questions, investigate what you're using. And so kudos to that. I think that's all something that we're always proud when people do make that conscious decision for whatever kind of sparked it. So super high level, antiperspirant versus deodorant, and then maybe you can dig in on the actual deodorant or the ingredients. Antiperspirant, when you break it down, is quite literally anti-perspire. So it's a product created to stop sweating. And so many of these ingredients, the lumen of which is usually one, but also often a number of different chemicals and fillers, etc., things that make it glide super smooth, aren't necessarily the best for us. And so what they'll do is they'll clog our pores so that it makes it harder for sweat to come out. And what can get dangerous is that over time, this can kind of start to accumulate in the armpits, in the lymph nodes, get into the bloodstream, etc. Deodorants, natural or otherwise, you can have non-natural deodorants, but something just classified as a deodorant, but specifically natural deodorants, are designed to let your body sweat, which is very scary for a lot of people, but also teach your body how to regulate to sweat. And sometimes our bodies forget what that actually looks like to sweat normally. So we can get into it even later, a bit down the line. But what we tell people is there is an adjustment period when you switch to a natural deodorant. And part of it is certain deodorants, and specifically detoxes. We have one that's designed to help pull the toxins out. And this is the phase that gets a little bit funky, and I think can steer a lot of people off. And that's why a big emphasis on our part is education. Because if you know what's coming and you know why it's doing, it's a lot easier to get over that hump. And there's things we say and provide to make your journey a little bit easier. But when you're pulling out potentially years of accumulation of toxins, A, you're going to stink a little bit more. And B, you might sweat a little bit more because there's ingredients such as charcoal, which is often one of them, that's actively magnetizing to some of that stuff that's stuck in your pits and pulling it out. And the beauty of it is over time, as you're sweating, your body understands, okay, this is normal. And you significantly reduce the actual odor that comes from sweat. And you touched on like nervous sweat, which is everyday sweat, which is a whole other thing. And Mila can geek out on that. Yeah, there's different types of sweats and different types of solutions. But I found now there's days where I might forget to put deodorant on and I won't stink. I'll sweat, but it'll feel much more regulated. It'll feel less than I've sweat before. And it'll definitely be less stinky than I've sweat before. So that's the high level difference. And then maybe you can kind of dig in on.
Well, you already covered it all.
But the ingredients.
No, I'm just kidding. Maybe just go mention a few ingredients. And then again, like Ada said, our mission is really to help people make choices, better choices, or go more natural, but not really to judge people or tell them don't ever use antiperspirants. There is definitely growing scientific evidence that some of the chemicals used in both antiperspirants and deodorants are not good for us and are linked to potentially cancer or can cause all sorts of reproductive issues, disrupt the way how our hormone works, maybe linked to Alzheimer's and all of that. So again, it's just growing scientific evidence and that goes for aluminum, which is used as a main active ingredient in antiperspirants. And way it works, it's a chemical reaction where it creates like a gel plug that plugs our sweat glands and prevents sweat from escaping. It's actually classified by FDA as a drug because it modifies our body functions, like biological functions of sweating. So it is very, very actually efficacious that way, put it that way, where deodorants just mask odors. But both of them can have harmful ingredients. Like I said, aluminum, yes, it's also xenoestrogens, which means that mimic estrogen and can bind to estrogen receptors in our body, in underarm tissues, and then promote abnormal cell growth and cause lots of all sorts of other problems. As per also editor of, I think, the Journal of the Toxicology, Dr. Philip Harvey, he said his research team basically suggested that there are some enough evidence to raise flags and make some links. Whether it causes cancer, we're not saying it causes cancers. We're just saying if there is concern, if there is scientific evidence, let's just not ignore it until it's discounted or disproved or proved correct or not correct, because one would need really to do a clinical trials, all for regulated human clinical trials to prove one way or another. And in the meantime, I don't know who's going to do that, but in the meantime, I'd rather just be more careful about the chemicals, about the ingredients in deodorants. And then there is parabens as well, used as preservative. Again, there is scientific evidence and some links made to cancers, especially because parabens are found, for example, in breast tumors. So when UK scientists did the research, they actually analyzed 20, I think, breast tumors, and 18 of them had high concentrations of parabens. So once again, like Ada said, our mission is not to scare people. It's just basically to maybe raise red flags and say, okay, do we really need these chemicals? Maybe if we can create something natural and healthy, but at the same time efficacious, that would be much more acceptable to our body, which is skin is our largest organ, and it's really easy for all these chemicals which are found in mainstream cosmetics to get absorbed by our skin and make their way past the epidermis, right? And again, interact with hormone receptors and get stored in fat cells in underarm area, and so on and so on. And then, there are again, the list goes on. Phthalates. I don't want to get into too many details about the chemicals. But what we did for Nalacare, we basically really screened really carefully and handpicked every single ingredients, which is why we put on our label, we are free from, and then the list goes: parabens, petroleum, phthalates, aluminum, cruelty-free, and so on and so on. So we basically screened each ingredient, and we picked only suppliers and vendors that follow good manufacturing practice, that do quality control of their ingredients, suppliers that can actually provide us with certificate of analysis. And then we go and look literally at the chemical level, what's inside, and then only include in Nala ingredients that, as Ada pointed out, meet Nala's standard. Organic whenever is available, but sometimes we found that even natural ingredients with really good chemical composition and free of pesticides and non-GMO and non-heavy metals, maybe even of better qualities and better composition than some of the organic compounds over there.
Wow. That's pretty scary.
Yeah,
I know you're not.
On this stuff all the time.
I know you're not trying to scare, but it's pretty frightening how unaware I have been of the ingredients of the products that I've been choosing, unfortunately. And I'm sure a lot of people are as well. And I think it's really important to stop and be aware. Look at that ingredient list. And if the ingredients that you don't know, you just look them up. You have Google on your phone. Just research.
And there's apps to make it easy. I think one of the most popular ones is Think Dirty.
Yeah.
So what you can do, and if you don't know
this, Canadian company,
download the app. Canadian, it's great.
Based,
But you can, if you're walking through Shoppers Drug Mart, London Drugs, you scan the barcode, and it will actually give you a rating out of 10 for how dirty the product is. Green, yellow, red. And so if you grab your favorite deodorant and you find that it's actually red, what it will do is give you kind of natural alternatives instead. And so there's ways to make it easier, and as the consumers become more educated. But I mean, don't blame yourself. I think companies have gotten so good at masking this information, at marketing this information. One of the ones that's often brought up is fragrance put up. It's the one item you don't need to fully disclose what's in fragrance because of proprietary reasons if you've got like a special formula. So often you'll see a couple natural ingredients and then you'll see like the ominous fragrance, which means you can throw anything in there and call it fragrance. And
there's like a list of actually 3,000 or over 2,000 chemicals
that can go under fragrance. So that's kind of a common loophole. And when we were deciding how to list it, even though our fragrance is made up of high quality essential oils, we're like, well, we don't necessarily want to disclose what what our particular blend is. Do we do fragrance? And then in the spirit of transparency...
Because we were allowed to say fragrance, but...
In the spirit of transparency, we're like, it's not worth it. Like, we'd rather list every single essential oil, every single way that we actually create our quote-unquote fragrance, our smells for Nala. But yeah, it's just... That's what I'm saying. It's so sneaky. But there are apps and tools to make, informed consumers make better decisions.
Yeah, but one thing that I just want to add... again, it's not to say that like the over-the-counters and cosmetic products are literally like you touch them and they're like toxic, right? I mean, they have really low concentrations of chemicals. They're all safe. I know, coming from pharmaceutical industry, that they have been tested and that they are safe. The problem is there are so many of them. And we use so many products. I don't know how many. Just an average woman like puts all sort of cosmetics and makeup. It's probably over 30 or 40 chemicals a day. So the problem is with I
think way higher. Actually.
Long term, like low concentration, but long term exposure to like again environmental chemicals that are just all around us. raises some red flags and may create health issues.
You're bombarding yourself constantly with all these chemicals, and over time, what do you think is going to happen?
Totally.
It's inevitable, right? So let's talk about your 3 deodorants.
Woohoo.
What is the difference between them? How do you use them?
Yes.
I let Ada loves talking about the 2 deodorants.
So we have 3 signature scents and strengths that we go through. So in a nutshell, our overview philosophy is that, skincare, similar to medicine and medical care and how we started, needs to be made for the individual. And we don't believe in one size fits all, because not only are your needs going to be different than my needs, going to be different than your needs, my needs are also going to change day to day. And I might put on a different deodorant if I'm gardening on a sunny Sunday than if I have a big presentation at work in front of, my most important clients. So what we've really done is try to create something to cater to that initial range. It starts with the peppermint and charcoal detox, free from deodorant. This is our most sensitive deodorant, which means it has no baking soda. So this is ideal for somebody who might have sensitive skin, might be sensitive to baking soda, but really we encourage it as a starting point for somebody who's new to natural deodorant. And as we kind of talked about, it's good in that it can help expedite that messy phase at the beginning where you're pulling toxins out, you're flushing, your body's going through a bit of adjustment. It's a nice one. The peppermint in as well can cool your body temperature. And we even say, if you're worried about that stinky detox process, put it on at night. Because that way, even if you're
before exercise,
before you sleep, if you're a hot sleeper, you actually wake up cooler and feeling like minty fresh, and then just shower off. And what you might want to do is put one of the other ones on during the day. So they're used, for different purposes. You can mix and match based on your needs. But that's a nice, gentle starting point. And what's unique about Nala, in addition to the different scents, they're different strengths. And so kind of the middle of the road, regular strength one is our lemon, myrtle, and geranium, which has like a lemony, it's really just a gentle lemony scent. It has a low concentration of baking soda. For me personally, I use the lemon myrtle during the day and I use the charcoal at nighttime. So I'll often mix it. If I need extra protection, I'll go to the sandalwood and bergamot. All of our deodorants are unisex. This one has a little bit more of a woodsier, potentially more masculine scent, which we find women love. A lot of women love that woodsy scent. But it's also stronger in that it has a higher concentration of baking soda. So when you're evaluating what is going to fit my needs, we find that's a good question in that, men gravitate towards this one. It will have a little bit more deodorizing power, more in that kind of sense. It can be too strong for some people as well, right? So you don't need to overdo it. I do use the sandalwood, but I have quite sensitive skin, so I'll use it occasionally, or if I feel I really need to kind of double up. Like for you, based on what you've told me, I would start with the charcoal at night, get used to kind of sweating, and it could even be a combination of charcoal at night, lemon myrtle during the day. Okay. And then if you find you need even more, moving up to the sandalwood and figuring out what works for you. Down the line, we'll look to make it even more custom. I'm giving Mila the eyes because this is
that's okay.
Proprietary information. But
we've been doing it anyways, like when people want extra strong or sensitive skin. So, yes.
This is PSA. The beautiful thing of supporting small business is that we really do, like so many small businesses we know, go out of the way to make a solution that fits for you. And because we're so passionate about getting people on this train and on the right path towards using it, if somebody emails us and they're like, listen, whatever it might be, I'm allergic to sandalwood, but I need something strong. Can you help me? We're not saying this is scalable and that we can do it for everyone. But, Mila's been known to make many special batches for customers and say, okay, or, we're experimenting with a sensitive skin formula with baking soda. Would you like to be one of the ones to pilot it? So, customers influence so much of what we do. And we know that 3 deodorants isn't going to fit the whole range. And we're continuously working to expand that range and really fit custom needs. I've talked so long, I forgot the question, but those are our
what
three.
type of deodorant.
Yeah, those are the three. And
moving also towards a personalization, like Ada said, we're just so passionate about it, and I just can't help it when someone emails us and says it's not working, and I'm like, no, but
let me prove it to you.
Let me explain it to you. Do this and this. Oh, do you want it stronger? I have extra strong. I'll send it to you, right? And then we literally do that. Like if people email us, like, can kids use it? And we're like, you know what? I would rather he or she has less essential oils. We'll make a special batch and then we'll send it your way. So we are passionate to actually personalize deodorants. And then moving forward, we will be doing actually more customization and using even our Nala technology platform to let people choose what kind of smell, what kind of strength they want.
That really shows that you guys care. It's not just about the products. You guys are caring about the people that are buying from you.
100%. Yeah.
That's amazing. Not a lot of companies care that much.
But now care.
Nala cares. All right, so you definitely do want to detox, right? Because I made the switch. I stopped cold turkey because I was like, I'm not going to go out and buy a whole new one because I'm just going to continue using it, to be honest. So I started a spray one, which I really hate spray, to be honest. But I'm committed to finishing it off. But I didn't detox.
So the good news is your body will detox no matter what. Like the word detox it can be a very controversial word in terms of, yes, your body's detoxing every day. The fact that you have proactively stopped clogging your pores in the form of antiperspirant means that, you will sweat and your body is just learning how to do that. And so we tell that people too, you don't need to start with a quote unquote traditional detox deodorant. You'll detox if you use the lemon myrtle. You'll detox if you use a different kind of natural deodorant.
Or
as long as your body
at all, right?
That's true. Or if you totally go cold turkey and don't use any kind of natural deodorant, antiperspirant otherwise.
Detox.
But detox also means other ways in which you can support your body, which is like things you just hear in terms of general self-care. Drink a lot of water. Do sweat-inducing activities. Drink water. Drink clean foods. You'll find that will also help kind of regulate what that looks like. The quote-unquote detox process is different for everybody. We say on average it's 4 weeks. Some people say they don't go through it at all. They'll switch and they're like, I smell great. I don't go through any funky phase. The deodorant can mask my odor just fine and I'm good to go. For others, it might be a little bit longer. It depends on lifestyle. It depends on how long and how heavily you've been using certain chemical products. It depends if you're partying every night as well, like what that will actually look like with how your body produces its output in the form of sweat. So I wouldn't stress doing a formal detox process. There are tools that, like I said, help kind of expedite the flushing out of toxins, and there's things you can personally do in your lifestyle. But if you can find something that you can stick with, I think that's the most important, because there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So just keep to it.
Okay. I'm definitely going to do it.
Okay, good.
All right. So let's talk about working together. Mother and daughter together. It's not always easy working with family, but you guys are very lovely people. So how do you guys do it? How do you find it working as co-founders of a successful company, but also being mother and daughter?
Yes, for myself, it has been really, really rewarding working with Ada for so many reasons. For very selfish reason too, because I get to spend much more time with Ada and quality time with Ada. So yeah, it has been really great. But then also I get to see firsthand, how she works, how passionate she is, how talented and smart she is and capable. So that really makes me proud too. Also, I'm grateful that I get an opportunity to pass on some of my experience and wisdom and vision to Ada, and in turn to learn from her, because I'm learning lots from Ada. And it's also then these generations differences, it's also very interesting because as I want to say a Generation X / baby boomer, I'm right there. I have one way of doing things, one philosophy, one business philosophy, different values. And then I have Ada as a millennial on the other side, which is like totally open-minded to some things that I, as maybe older generation, may have not been so open to, but now I'm opening up my mind and listening to her perspective. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It is different than the way I see it. But it's been really rewarding.
I'm going to say, so that's the positive.
That's the positive, right?
No, genuinely, I think what makes this work, we have very clear boundaries, which I think is important, and very different skill sets and very different parts of the business that we work on.
Sets, yeah.
So she's in the labs, like she's formulating, she's manufacturing, she's got the scientific, like I said, our secret ingredient edge. Not that she doesn't do other aspects of the business. She's very involved in that. But it's nice when, yes, our skills complement each other. So that's her territory. I don't mess with that. If she's saying, you know what, I think we should use a little bit of whatever, whole wood essential oil. That's
instead of rosewood.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's all her. She's got that executive decision. I've been leading a lot of, how do we market this? How do we brand it? Our sales, where does it make sense for us to partner, and with who, and how are we actually going to distribute? And so it's nice having a bit of autonomous control over that. And we actually keep each other quite informed. If she's saying, hey, this shipping manufacturer is coming and here's what I'm evaluating and here's what you should know. And I'm like, cool. Here's what I'm looking at. Do we invest in PR, or is that money going to be better spent on a content writer, or, deciding how and where we take our revenue and what we channel it into. It also helps but it might be a changing dynamic when I move to doing this full time. So right now for me, this is actually my 5 to 9. So I work full time and this is on the side. And so there aren't too many times we're physically next to each other working. We have our own space and we have our own roles and definitions. And I think that's been nice. Just some tips if you're going to work with a family member, but genuinely, to not get too gushy, and echo some of what you said, it's nice to see a parent, in like a different light, so to speak, because I think you are quite visionary and business-minded and savvy, and you get away from that, you are my care provider mentality where you're just saying, hey, take care of me. Even for me now as a 30-year-old, but you see, okay, wow, maybe I didn't give you credit in how you can run a business or how you can think about this or manage people or stakeholders and make executive decisions. So far, so good, knock on wood. But yeah.
So being successful, you guys are doing pretty well with Nala. How do you guys balance life and work? So how do you not let Nala take over your lives and kind of take away from taking care of yourselves?
Yeah. How ironic would that be if we stopped taking care of ourselves because of Nala?
When we started Nala, among other main reasons and inspiration behind why we started it, we also knew and we decided that we are just going to have fun with this and we're going to do it the way we want. This is one of the reasons why we are bootstrapping it and, investing our own savings and money into it, so we get to do it our own way and really, really enjoy it. And I think both of us are really good at it. I mean, we of course get overwhelmed, and
we keep each other in check.
Yes,
one person's allowed to be overwhelmed at a time,
and then another. Yes, but then sometimes we get emails from friends, or I'd say, "Oh, here's another deodorants company. Here's this and this," and then the pressure all of a sudden builds up, and then we okay, step back. Then we just go. Take a pause, reevaluate, okay, why are we doing this? We want to really enjoy it. That's the point, and have fun with it. And we're not going to enjoy it if we are under pressure. Oh, we should be doing in terms of business, this kind of plan and monitor our competitions. You know what? I mean, I love that there are more and more natural deodorants, honestly, companies around, because I do want people to switch to natural deodorants. I mean, and it's hard for me to say because that as well, because I love chemistry. And I love that as well. But like we mentioned before, not all chemicals are good for us. So, but I do believe if we do what we do with passion and with love and with lots of integrity, there is a place for us on market. There are always customers who are, value what we stand for and the products we bring to a table. So we just step back and relax and we say, are we enjoying it? Something not right. Let's modify it. And then we maybe take a break, take a ski trip a day or two and give each other a break.
Yeah, that's good. You definitely need breaks.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, how about you?
This has been awesome. So for those wanting to learn more about you and your company and your product, where can they find you?
Yes. So we are consistently Nalacare across the web. So that's www.nalacare.com. On Instagram, it's @Nalacare, Facebook /Nalacare, Twitter /Nalacare. If you do message us, DM us, follow us, it's me who will be answering your messages. Mm-hmm. And so, we get a ton of DMs every day. Do feel free to reach out and just inquire. We'll make sure to get back to everybody. And we love to hear from customers. So do get in touch.
All right. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for taking the time to chat with us and for sharing your amazing story. But honestly, for creating something that is going to help so many take better care of their bodies and their overall health. So it's so important to be aware of the ingredients in the products that we put in and on our bodies, especially when there are so many alternatives out there that are actually good for us. So if you want to learn more about Nalacare, I will include the links in the show notes. So make sure you check it out.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us, Jessica.
I'm Jessica, and thanks for tuning in today to Love Unplugged, the podcast. If there are any questions or topics you'd love answered on the show, head on over to revueblanc.com and share your request with me. If you haven't yet, go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast and share it with a loved one. Your feedback means the world to me, and the community we've created is what fuels our discussions here. After all, this is all for you. Join me next time for another Unplugged conversation.